just when Chris thought he was out, we pulled him back in. Because we're talking movies, we're talking the definitive zombie movie of all time, George A. Romano's Dawn of the Dead, starring David M.G., Ken Foree, and Galen Ross, written and directed by George A. Romano. Every dead body that is not exterminated becomes one of them. It gets up and it kills. The people it kills gets up and kill.
When hell is full, the dead will rise and walk again. Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of How'd You Like That Movie? We are talking about the 1978 classic, Dawn of the Dead, and we have as our guest, filmmaker and director, founder of the Kitchener Waterloo Film Festival, Daniel McLeod. Hey, man, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you coming on the show. So this is our a section that we like to call shameless self-promotion. So why don't you tell our listeners all about you, and definitely talk about the KW Film Festival, which is coming up in a week, something like that.
That's right, this coming weekend. So yeah, I'm Dan McLeod. I'm a filmmaker first and director of the festival second. So I've got my second feature film doing the rounds right now called Regicide. It's not a bad movie. The trailer looks fantastic, by the way, and we'll make sure we put that in our show notes. Oh, thanks. Yeah. So I'm pretty happy with that one. We filmed that one in 10 days straight, 9 days of shooting, 1 day of rehearsal, in a place with no running water. We had one outhouse for everyone that got really bad really quick. It was chaos, but we pulled it off. And with all the circumstances, it turned out pretty well. The first movie I did, Force Fury, is on Tubi, and you should never, ever watch it. It's terrible. And the KW Film Festival is coming this weekend. On the 14th, we have Midnight Madness. That starts at 9 o'clock and goes to about 2 a.m. It's for a lot of wild stuff, and we got a mystery movie playing first. And on the 15th is our more traditional festival stuff. So we have a feature film, Shifted, that is also locally made in Kitchener Waterloo. And then we have the short films, and it's a mix of national, international, and local stuff.
So how long have you been doing the KW Film Festival now?
It's been open to the public for, I think, 4 years now. I was actually just having this conversation last night because I can't remember. As before it was an open thing, it was just local filmmakers. We'd rent out a theater and we'd show our work to each other. And we did that for a few years. And before that, I ran a festival there was a concert thing that only happened a couple of years, but it was called Big Music Fest. And I was contracted to run a film festival for them. Yeah, so I'm not actually sure how many of these I've done, but open to the public, at least like 3 or 4.
So, and you're back. COVID, you actually did a pretty good job of pivoting during COVID. Last year you did like a drive-in style.
Yeah.
So this year you're actually back in the Princess Theater, correct?
Yes, we are. Yeah, we're in the original one. That's my favorite run. I know some people, like, there are accessibility issues because it's like a lot of stairs. It's very narrow. The screen's it's older. The seats aren't as comfortable, but I just like the history of the place. And they gave us the option to use the new one, the Princess Twin, but it just doesn't have that old theater smell that you can't replicate, you know?
Is it true that the Princess Theater used to be a porno theater, or is that just like an urban legend?
I don't think anyone really knows. I've asked this to the owner itself, and he's like, "Yeah, well, it was something." He's not really open to talking about it, I guess. And the owners of the building, I don't think are open to talk about it either. So there's a lot of rumors like, "Oh, I remember when it used to be this," but I've never met anyone who admits to actually going in there when it was a porno theater.
I think it might be hard to find people that will admit, other than say someone like maybe Get Ready to Drink, Quentin Tarantino, or Pee Wee Herman, that are willing to admit that they were, just chilling out in a porno theater, watching some flicks.
I know nothing.
Let's bring those back. Why not? It could be fun.
So your feature film, is it Regicide? How do you pronounce that?
I say regicide. I don't know if that's the correct way to pronounce it. I thought I was really clever when I was writing the movie and I picked that title, but upon reflection, like, that's kind of a douchey word. I should have just called it something else. But that's on the poster now, so that's what it is, and I have to live with that.
What's why don't you give us the premise, give us your one-liner and all that jazz.
All right. The premise is a bickering couple is moving out of a farmhouse to move back to the city. One of them is not very happy about it. Their friends are trying to help him out and get him out there. But then an unexpected guest arrives and everything kind of goes to shit. That's the basics. Yeah.
As they do. So I'm looking at some of your credits. So you and I actually are part of the same project. So you're the producer for Snowblind, and I'm an executive producer on that film.
Of course. It is a small world, man.
Which basically means you did work and I gave money.
Fair enough. Yeah, I ended up I didn't start out as a producer for that movie. The movie had already been shooting for 2 or 3 years at that point. Brian, the director, is a friend of mine, and he was actually my DOP for Regicide. And he helped out on Force Fury as well. What happened, like, because it had taken so long, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna come in and help you. So I shot a couple of days. I did a bunch of effects work for them, set up their crowdfunding campaign, stuff like that. And that basically gifted me the producer title. So it was really neat to see that movie come together. I remember going to a private screening for a rough cut and being really worried about the movie. It was like, oh no, like 4 years of filming. But then I saw the finished version. I was like, oh, this is fucking awesome. So in that like a few months span, like he really put it together, and I'm really happy with what he did. It's really fun.
Where are you guys in your process with Snowblind?
It is done. It is doing the festival circuit. I'm not sure if he's doing any more. But he got into some good ones from what I remember. I can't remember what the festivals were called, but he's got another screening coming up soon. The details of that are not public yet, but when they are, I'll let you know.
And what about with Regicide or Regicide or Regicide?
Regicide, yeah. That one is probably, I'm just going to go right to distribution. There's a few distributors I'm going to contact and say, hey, do you want this movie? Yes or no? And if they say no, then I'm going to throw it to an aggregator like I did with Force Fury, and then it'll just end up wherever. I mean, Force Fury was even on Amazon Prime for about a year, which I couldn't believe they took it.
Wait, is this the one you're saying not to watch? Because I saw the trailer, and although it looks like it's sort of like future, like basically alien cop working with, human cop, police procedural.
It is, but it's like super dumb. That movie was.
I love an honest filmmaker.
Oh yeah, it was, the whole thing for me was like, okay, I want to make a feature film, but I know my first feature is probably not going to turn out very well, so I'm going to make a piece of crap. And so I wrote it drunk the entire time. None of that was written sober. So I would ramble on the keyboard, and then I sent it to the lead actor in that movie, Matthew Masseau, and he put it into a script format. And we looked at it and like, holy Jesus. All right, let's go. And then when we made it, I think we spent like $500 total. Now, this was mostly food and some.
Wait, on a feature?
On a feature, yeah. Everyone was just volunteers. Because like I showed them the script, like, hey, I'm making this piece of shit. Do you want to be involved? And they're like, yeah, okay. That sounds fun. And
what a salesman. So I've got this piece of shit. You want to be in it for free? Absolutely.
Yeah, I find honesty is the best way to go. Like Regicide, everyone got paid. Like that actually put money and time into it and pre-production and all that. But Force Fury was, I just want to cut my teeth and make something that is technically a movie, technically a feature, and then it's done, and I'll feel better just to go through the process and make sure I can stick with it and actually deliver on something. And I did. And yeah.
Well, the majority of directors only make one feature film, like statistically. So you're already ahead of most directors.
Jeez, I'm writing the third one now. So I don't know.
So with a $500 budget and it being on Amazon Prime, did you make money?
Yeah, actually I did. It was eventually kicked off of Amazon Prime, but it's still on Tubi, and Tubi pays better. It doesn't pay well. Nothing pays well anymore at all. Everything pays like shit. You're getting pennies on the dollar for what you used to get even like 4 years ago. But yeah, it made its money back. So I have a profitable film at the expense of the quality of the film itself.
That's fantastic. So basically the key is make them cheap and make them often.
I guess. I mean, there is probably a way to make a living doing that if you just churn out complete garbage on a consistent level. Sure. I'm sure you could make a living eventually.
Well, who's the really famous B
Isn't
movie
it Corman? Roger
well,
Corman?
Well,
Roger,
and the
yeah.
other one that they did the black and white movie with Johnny Depp playing him, Ed Wood.
Ed Wood. He's a hero of mine as well. Actually, you guys just brought up both my heroes. Roger Corman and Ed Wood Jr. are some of my favorites. They're both like hucksters, and they're not really ashamed about it. Roger Corman is somehow still alive. I don't think he's in the public anymore. I think his kids are kind of running the show, but he's like 100-something years old.
Yeah. So just before we kind of kick this back over to the film, with Regicide, like when is this like what is there any local film festivals this thing's available at? Like where can we go see this sucker?
I'm probably gonna have it one way or another 6 months from now. It's going to be online somewhere. I might do some drive-ins with it or something fun like that. I'm not sure if I'm going to do theater runs. It's like it's difficult to make your money back doing theater runs now. People are less likely to go to the cinema at all. Like you got to really hit the art house ones and really push it because you're competing against everything else they're playing, stuff they've actually heard of. So it's tough. If you're going to do a theater run, you got to have like a gimmick. So you might do like a Midnight Madness thing again if we're going to go that route, but otherwise it'll be online. Almost definitely Tubi, hopefully Prime, and we'll see what happens.
Are you in your festival run right now then?
It is coming to an end. What the last one was Another Hole in the Head Festival.
Okay.
And I think right before that was Shock Fest they played at. So I think they overlapped, and that was in mid-December. And that was basically it for me. Like, okay, that's the year. I didn't get into a lot, excuse me, of festivals because I found out, thanks to Shockfest contacting me, like, hey, there's like 3 parts of your movie where the dialogue cuts out for like 30 seconds. Like, what? Like, I don't know how the hell I missed that in a cut I sent to people. But they liked the movie enough to actually contact me, like, hey, we like this, we want to play it, but you got to fix this stuff or it doesn't make any sense. So I did another cut. And then once I did that, started getting into more stuff.
Unfortunately, yeah, because of how competitive the market is, they saw it, oh, that's fucked, and that's gone. Like you just didn't even hear back.
Exactly. And I get it. Like running a festival myself, like you don't have time to nitpick all that stuff. It's just like yes or no. You have got like hundreds of movies to watch. And so I understand why people didn't reach out beforehand. So I really respect the fact that they did.
So you've had a $500 feature film budget, and you don't have to say which film it was, but like, what's the highest budget you've worked with now?
About 40 grand.
I don't understand why you're laughing. That's
because in the world of feature films, that's called no budget. You're still working with no budget.
Absolutely. I've never applied for a grant before. So it was all just like, what can we scrap together?
So no telefilm, nothing like that.
Nothing. For this next one coming up, I need actual money because we have interest from actual actors who are at least somewhat known, which will help, I think, in getting the grant money.
So that includes working with ACTRA and then some of the crew unions and stuff like that as well, or
ACTRA, that's super fun. Dealing with that is like I didn't realize what a process that is. Like, holy shit. It is not fun. Like, wow, I really want this actor, but holy Christ, do I not want to deal with ACTRA? Just the hoops you have to jump through. Like, oh, you want this actor? Well, they need like 10% of your total budget. Like, well, I don't have a full budget yet. So what is your minimum? Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's nuts. And if you want more than one actor, now you gotta like, where's all this money coming from? Where's it going? It is bizarre.
There's a lot of paperwork too, like that. Just admin issues, right?
Extreme. It's like if you have an actor who's like known enough, and you want to use other actors who are not actor has to approve those actors in your own movie.
This is my nightmare.
Stuff like that, like oh man, it is not a fun. I'm not really enjoying it. Like I haven't even finished the script yet, and I'm already getting headaches just from the paperwork that I'm
You're
gonna
not
have to
drinking
do.
enough. It sounds like
Probably not.
getting drunk. Before, I just had a couple questions about your festival. So first off, as a festival director, like, you know, people, like you said, like you submit your stuff and you just wait to get in.
Yeah.
What, as a festival director, what are you looking for? You know, whether both as just a, you know, festival director in general, and then what as the KW Film Festival would you say are you looking for? Because I think that for filmmakers out there that are in our audience, it just feels like a crapshoot. You just throw a bunch of stuff against the wall and hope it comes back, right? Unless your last name's Coppola.
Yes. You'd be surprised about the quality of the stuff that gets submitted. I am usually just looking for general competency in filmmaking, because believe it or not, that is the rarity. That is the exception. Most of the stuff that gets submitted, it looks like a high school project where they didn't know what they were doing. And I find the longer the bio of the director, usually the worse of a filmmaker they are. And I don't know why, but that seems to be consistent. It's like, oh, this is like the best film ever. It's won awards here and there, blah, blah, blah. And I watched the movie like, no way. This is awful. And so competency is the main thing I'm looking for. Like, is this like a functional piece of work that I'm looking at? Is it shot by someone who knows what they're doing? Can the actors act? Does the story make any sort of sense? Like, the bare minimum is usually not there. So going through the submissions, you want to pull your hair out because you're going crazy. Because like, I love movies, I love filmmaking, and I want to promote it. But when you watch most of the stuff that you're getting, you're like, I can't believe this. But man, I do feel a lot better about my own work after doing that.
So when it's like the submission time, you got to watch this. Is it like do you dread this beforehand? Like, is this when you're just like downing the Jack Daniels?
It is brutal, man. Like, I don't know how many people would, I guess, be honest about that part of the process, but it sucks. It's work. It's not fun, and that's yeah. But when you do get through it and you get to the good pieces are worth it. And then I'm like, okay, I'm glad I did this and I got to see all this new cool stuff. But as the KW specific, I'm way more not sure if the right word is forgiving, but trying to get the community together of filmmakers to learn from each other and to help mentor each other is the main point of my festival. It's like, okay, this is how I started becoming a filmmaker, is by going to film festivals, like small ones like this in the community. There was a group called the 12 Angry Filmmakers that was around before I started making films. And their whole thing was, let's get together and make work together and learn. So I would attend these screenings and these meetings, and I met these people, and that's where my basis came from, of these filmmakers that I still work with today. And that was really important to me. And that's what I want this festival to be for other filmmakers. Come together, see each other's stuff, learn from each other, and eventually connect and go out and make things together and continue to improve that way. So that is the point of this festival. It's not just, this is the best movie, these are the best movies in the world that I found, I'm going to show them off. It's to bring the filmmakers together and learn.
So on that, I mean, I'm looking at your schedule. It looks like you on both days or nights, you've kind of got a feature film, and then you've got, like, looks like your short programming. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
So at what point do you have, is there red carpet? Is there, you know, sometimes there'll be an industry component where the filmmakers that have films showing, like, when are you wanting those people to mingle? Because according to the schedule, it kind of looks like movies, like, when is that interaction happening, or is it happen offline on, like, in an email blast or something?
That'll be actually mailed out in the next couple of days. There's going to be like a meet and greet beforehand with the filmmakers who are able to attend. Show up for like a drink at the bar next door sort of thing, and then get to know each other. And then there's breaks between the feature film and the shorts. They'll be mingling. People can bring their promotional materials and sell their merch, everything like that. And afterwards, there's always mingling as well. The mingling is pretty important, because it's like, okay, saw your movie, okay, bye. They're like, well, there's no point there. You want to actually get to know the faces of the people who've made the stuff. And a lot of the filmmakers are actually attending, which I'm really happy about. So the vast majority of the submissions will have a director there.
So, I mean, is there anything else? This sounds fantastic. Like, first off, kudos to you for trying to bring the local filmmaking community together. Like, I mean, for those that don't know, I mean, we're in Kitchener Waterloo area. It's outside of Toronto. Everything becomes very Toronto centric, and everything's in Toronto. But we don't all live in Toronto, and it sucks that we commute in there to work or shoot or whatever. So to be able to work in our own backyard, it's so nice, and to be able to have our friends and family and other filmmakers see work in our own backyard is awesome. And I think that's so great that you're doing that, man.
Oh, definitely. Like Shifted, and actually the mystery movie as well are both locally founded pictures. So I want, it's important, especially up and coming directors, people who are just doing shorts. I want them to meet these people, be like, yeah, you can make a feature film. And they're going to tell you how they did it, and hopefully you go out and make a feature film. Yeah.
Well, now that I know that you're making features for $500, the $7,000 that I spend on one day of production for one day of shooting makes me feel very sad.
Holy Jesus! What one was that?
Oh, that's the one that. So I start shooting January 26th on an art house picture called Coffee.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's so it's the location rental, our dolly. We have to have a dolly grip, all that type of stuff. We're shooting on like an RE Alexa. We got a like fantastic DP. As you know, all that stuff just adds up.
Really, really fast. Yeah.
Real fast. Yeah. Like, hey, if anybody's out there listening and they have money they don't need, please send it to www.how'dyolikethatmovie.com and I will spend it for you. So
I saw an article. I'm not sure if it was a real article, but it said a producer in Florida robbed a bank just to fund a movie.
I just saw that this morning on Instagram. Yeah. Everybody's like,
yeah, I get it. Yep.
Yeah, they're like, I mean, it's wrong, but also right. I mean, if you use that you could almost go found footage with that too.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of kill two birds. So you got your cinematography rate built into the robbery. So, so do you have anything else you want to talk about before we actually start talking about our movie?
Show up to the festival if you can. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to get to meet the filmmakers of the movies you see. There's a lot of awesome stuff. I'm particularly excited for Midnight Madness. This is a new kind of programming. I really wanted to separate the more family friendly to the totally insane stuff that I didn't feel comfortable showing the public other years. So this year we're showing the weird stuff on Midnight Madness. If you like weird stuff, that's for you. Absolutely.
And we'll have everything in our show notes, the hyperlinks and stuff to the festival pages. So if you want to check it out, or you want to come out and meet the filmmakers and stuff like that, all that information will be available. Scott, do you have anything before we jump into the film?
No, I'm good.
All right, Scott, take it away.
What movie are we doing again?
Oh my God. It's the one where you mispronounced.
Oh, there we go. How do you say the guy's name? Romero?
Romero, yeah. Oh, man.
I'm joking.
Okay.
We are not amused.
I think we can all agree this is the definitive zombie movie, right? Like,
yeah.
To me, it's the commentary on consumerism. Like, even if you look at the film that was made 44 years ago, like that same desire of want overtaking what your actual needs are is still like relevant today. Like, my favorite scene on this is like the little montage that they do right after they clear the zombies the first time, and then they're just doing like their Monday day to day, and they're like pretty much just fucking zombies going. Even after they like had sex, they're just literally just like standing there like, well, that was 100% unfulfilling.
Which is what made Shaun of the Dead so funny when it opens, because people are not zombies yet, but they are very zombie-like, right? And then he doesn't even notice when people are turning into zombies, because that's just how the real world is now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. I was just thinking of that scene, Scott, before you brought it up, because I was talking about this movie last night to a couple of friends, and that's the scene they brought up too. It's where they finally have everything. Like, they've got their little apartment set up, they've got like the microwave and all this stuff, and they're just eating, and they're going nuts, basically. Like, when it's the whole like, be careful what you wish for, because you might get it, and once you do, like, then what?
Yeah. Well, even when they first came to that mall, and they're like, okay, we're gonna like just try to ransack it for supplies, when they're like grabbing TVs and shit, like to throw, when the original plan was to throw on to put it all on the helicopter. I'm like, where are you gonna fucking plug this TV in first? And why are you going for TVs, right? But it was just that whole like, hey, we need everything. Like we have to grab everything. And then when the bikers come, they just fucking go crazy on that shit too.
My favorite scenes in it are actually not even like anything that has to do with like plot or narrative. I just love watching them drive a car through a mall and fucking shoot zombies. And when the motorcycle gang shows up and they're just like, again, doing all kinds of like fucking wheelies and rushing around and stuff, like there's just some, the camera work there is so like visceral. Like they get up nice and close, the camera's moving, the vehicles are moving, you know, I don't know if they're using dollies or carts or whatever, but like it feels very, very dynamic, right? Like there's nothing still about it. The cinematographer on that, Michael Gornick, also worked on Creepshow and Day of the Dead, but I think he does a fantastic job with all the movement. But I don't know what it is. Every time I watch it, I'm just like, I don't know, maybe because I'm like, it'd be so fucking cool to just like ride a motorcycle through a mall. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the cinematography in that is quite the thing. I noticed when I watched it again on Friday, something like 10% of the shots are out of focus or slightly off, which I think it just spoke to the speed at which this movie must have been shot. And like a lot of like and cobbled together in editing, I'm guessing, because like you can tell like when they're using like shooting in the mall, they don't really probably have a lot of lights set up. They're just using like the mall lights. It's like this is just how everything looked. And they're probably just running around the camera. There's a shot, there's a shot, there's a shot. And you can tell it was quick when they have to shoot at night and then get it all cleaned up so the mall can operate during the day, then set everything up again. And
I think they shot over like the holidays as well for a point too. So like they seriously had to get cleaned up and get the fuck out of that mall at 7 o'clock in the morning, right? So yeah, you're right. Like they probably are shooting primarily with practicals, right? So
completely. It's I imagine it was a lot of fun, but also complete chaos. Like as just from a producer standpoint, I'd be pulling my hair out. Like, guys, we gotta get the shot right now and clean up, or we're not gonna be on time. Like every day, like that. I couldn't imagine.
So when I started digging into this film, one of the things I came across was the fact that Dario D'Argento is one of the like people who helped put this thing together. And for those that don't know who he is, he's like the man, with it's called Italian Giallo, so the yellow. He is like the master of horror slasher, whatever. He's like what De Palma wanted to be at the beginning of his career. Like this guy is like the Sergio Leone, but of like Italian slasher cinema. That and the fucking Goblins did the soundtrack on the Italian cut of this. So again, they worked with D'Argento on the original Suspiria, which is also a fantastic film and a crazy art house kind of witch movie. And the Goblins are this like Italian prog rock band, right? And so yeah, I just thought that was so cool to see those two worlds converge. And I was 100% unaware of it until I started doing background for this film.
Yeah, it's Argento basically convinced Romero to like, hey, come to Italy, come live in my villa, and write a sequel because he to Night of the Living Dead. So Argento really is responsible for this movie existing at all, and like they got them all for free. I think it was a friend of Romero's or something, or Argento, I can't remember. So a lot of this is because Argento is like, Night of the Living Dead's awesome. You need to write a sequel. Come over here and write it, and he did.
And I think that actually, going back to what you said about, your festival and bringing filmmakers together this is how work gets done, right? It's I would say that as a director and a producer, the film industry is 80% people and 20% content. Like it's all about who who's willing to work with you, a guy that knows a person who knows a lady who will give you, $1,000 or whatever, or like you said, a location. So the interaction between not even just filmmakers, but artists, right? Like, oh, I know someone who can do your score, or, oh, I know this like really great hair and makeup person or whatever. Right. So,
it's completely community based. It's unbelievably so. I know that people say for every job, oh, it's who you know will get you the job. I've never seen anything like the level it is for filmmaking, because people, if you don't have a reputation of being good to work with and people can't vouch for you, people will not work with you. That's it. Unless you're throwing them a ton of money. you'll just go, I never heard of you, or oh, this guy says you're an asshole, I'm not working with you. No.
And the flip side to that is you could be an A-list actor, but if they're like, oh yeah, this is a super groovy script and I really like working with you, yeah, don't worry about it. We'll just make it happen.
Yep, completely.
On that topic, I mean, this is the film that made the man Tom Savini. Like anybody who knows anything about horror and makeup, like he's the guy, right? Like,
oh yeah.
And he was supposed to originally work on Night of the Living Dead, but he got drafted, went to Vietnam, which basically is why he became such a good FX person, because when he was in Nam, he got to see kind of like bodies and all just, decay and burned, and he brought that back and he applied it to his filmmaking, right? So
yeah, he was a combat photographer, and his whole thing was, if the images I make can't give me the same feeling as the real stuff, then I didn't do a good enough job. It's when you follow his career, the better job he does, the more like his work gets cut out of the movie because it's too graphic.
Hold my hands, cause I got something to say.
Oh boy.
Which, I mean, that's a testament to you as an FX artist. Hey, Scott, are you still in this podcast or what?
Yeah. But sorry, for me, I always thought it was Friday the 13th that was Savani.
No. That is Savani.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah, but that's what put him on the map. And this was the second. Because I know with this film, he actually doesn't like he doesn't like the color of the blood. He doesn't like that because he painted them. Well, the zombies are supposed to be gray, but then the color, it mixed it. Once it went to color, it turned them blue, and he's like, fuck. All right.
Yeah, but this is his first feature. Friday the 13th was the first time that he did like a job that everybody saw and everything else. So yes, like it is his A game, but this is his first opportunity as like the key makeup special effects artist.
And like one of the head bikers. It's fun watching him swing around.
Which he makes a cameo though. He in Land of the Dead, he makes a zombified version of that character. He shows up.
Yeah. Well, and he's also, I believe, in Army of the Dead, Schneider's latest zombie film, right? I think a whole bunch of them are in that.
I can't remember if I've.
Are they not in Land, or they're definitely in the remake of Dawn of the Dead?
Maybe.
The remake. We should, bring that up at least. Have you guys? Yeah.
Go ahead. I just watched it last night as well. So.
Oh, right on. Scotty, have you seen the remake?
Oh, Snyder, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think on that?
There's not enough Superman in it. Fucking Snyderverse bullshit.
Well,
go ahead, Scott.
Okay,
I'm gonna go to sleep now.
Okay, I'm gonna say something about Savani first, and then just to make Chris happy. In terms of his acting skills, nothing's gonna beat fucking Sex Machine.
That's fair.
That's from Dawn, from Dusk Till Dawn. But in terms of that, like the thing I appreciate about the Snyder version of it is it wasn't trying to remake this film. It just literally just took the concept of it, and it's his own taste. Because if he literally tried to remake this film, it wouldn't have done as well. And it has a little can in it with a little Sarah Polley. So,
and it was shot in Toronto, which is a big piece of can.
But yeah, like in terms of the fast zombies, like I don't really have a preference, but there actually is fast zombies in the original too. Do you know which ones they are?
I don't. No.
The two little kids.
Oh yeah.
When they open the door, they run. Right? They're the only two fast zombies in his feature. Maybe
they're not zombies, they're just really energetic kids.
Yeah, they're just children, and they're just all bitey because they're children.
Well, they're actually Tom Savani's I think niece and nephew. And he just put them up and just like, okay, go get that guy, right? And then I guess they didn't watch anything, but they ran at him.
And one thing I'd say about the 78 version compared to the remake, which is 2004 or something like that, is one is basically like a horror action film. That's the remake. And the Romero's original is a social commentary, right? Like it's using zombies as a device to talk about like how, like, because even the way it opens, there's all the racism when they're basically storming the projects, and he's making a commentary about the world he's currently living in, where Dawn of the Dead just took like the zombies and the killing, and basically the film is set around that, right? So Eric Henderson from Slate Magazine said, Dawn of the Dead's most unsettling aspect is in how it shows us how little we've changed as a culture. And I mean, I think that's so true. Like most of the things that Romero is talking about in that film, consumerism, racism, all that type of stuff, is still exists in our culture today. Like nothing's changed at all. In fact, it may have gotten worse. So
Yeah, I'd say hell, probably definitely worse.
another scene in the original Dawn of the Dead, which I thought was so. What I like about the original versus, I mean, I actually like both films. I just think that, like Scott said, like they're not remakes. They're versions of a zombie apocalypse in a setting. Is one is like an action movie. You get to see kind of some cool stuff happen, and it's very much grounded in kind of realism. In the original, I like how you kind of, because you don't just go to the mall, right? Like there's that whole opening sequence, and then we're kind of seeing what's happening, you know, in the US at the time. So you see the rednecks out there having a gay old time, just woo, having coffee and drinking beers and shooting zombies and stuff. And it's like, and then you see the military over here, and like it actually gives you a feeling of kind of like how this would probably play out, you know?
Well, I was going to say with that, I think that's more the nod to the original Night of the Living Dead, because, you know, while they're all shacked up in the shack with you see the progression of the militia going through and killing them, and then you get to the end and it's like the heartbreaking scene.
Yeah, that's a solid ending, man, in the original.
Yeah. So I think that's where it's kind of, because I think these are supposed to technically be happening at the same time. You're just getting like the stories of the different places of what's happening during this apocalypse. But also with what you're saying with like the opening, I think it is an amazing like fucking kind of cold open kind of thing, but it also reflects how like humanity was its own worst enemy, because you had that like racist fucking cop that just could not fucking wait to like just tackle everything and then just start opening up doors and blowing shit away, when in reality he really didn't have to. He was just getting overzealous getting into it. And
Definitely. So I do agree. Like there's like that link between like the first and the second. What I noticed is I'm not sure if it is intentionally a link between Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead. On the radio in Dawn of the Dead, they mention that in what state is it? Like Arkansas? Yeah, as the state, I think the state next to Florida, they're working on like a biological cure or something, and it's mentioned very briefly. And so I looked up, where does Day of the Dead take place? So it takes place in Florida, so pretty close. So I wonder if they intentionally made that connection, like, oh, where are they working on the cure? Oh, far south in the U.S.
Which is basically the premise of Day of the Dead, right? So
exactly. Which I when I first saw Day of the Dead, I really didn't like it, but upon frequent viewings, it's now my favorite zombie movie by Romero. But I find it's extremely inaccessible for whatever reason on first viewing. I don't know if you guys had that experience as well.
I'll have to go. Sorry, I'll have to go back and rewatch it and kind of get back to you on that, because I just watched it. I mean, I would have watched it years ago, and it was just a zombie movie. Like I didn't even put it into context with all the other films, right? So
yeah,
I was gonna say with myself, I think I've only watched it once. In terms of his movies, the ones that I revisit is the first one, this one, and Land of the Dead, because I like me some fucking Dennis Hopper over the top as the fucking villain. Like
that is a fun movie, man.
Yeah,
it's so different from his other zombie movies. When you put it on, it's like this is like a comedy.
Oh, it's campy. It's so campy.
Yeah. Well, even this one is more kind of has more humor than Night, but it's also like when they're in the where is it, the furnace or whatever, and it's like the bullet, it was always the bullets ricocheting with the fucking like yeah it was like the comic book like soundtrack to it, like and you're just
like
watching his
7
eyes
ricochets each bullet, like this what.
So go ahead, Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, so but I think in terms of this one and Land of the Dead, because I think if I'm not mistaken, the building that Land of the Dead takes place, that high rise that's all green, is the high rise in this film that just after they go off in the helicopter, you see each light kind of dimmer because the zombies have kind of taken over that one. So each floor kind of goes dark before they get to the mall. I think it's the two, if I'm not mistaken, it's the two same locations where they end up taking place.
I never thought about that. That's cool. I was thinking about that exact shot when I was watching it. I'm imagining like the helicopter takes off and they're on the radio. Okay, turn off the lights. And there's just some guy like hitting all these switches as fast as he can just to get the shot.
So, talking about small budgets and big payoffs. I mean, we don't know how big your payoff was, but so this thing had a $640,000 budget and it's done $66 million at the box office. Jeez. Who knows how much on video on demand and stuff like that. So that's a pretty good return on investment.
Oh yeah. I wish we still lived in the 70s for reasons like that.
Oh yeah, man! Like so many filmmakers made some, like The Last House on the Left and stuff. It could make your career. Well, even Friday the 13th, even in the early 80s, right? The scariest movie ever made or whatever. Didn't even have a script. It just take some people, carve them up, make $1 billion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but in recent times, like Blumhouse is the example of this. 100%. It's micro budgets, like 1 to 2, maybe. I think the most they've ever done is a $5 million budget. And it just fucking makes all the money.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for Blumhouse and what they've done. They're sort of like a modern Roger Corman in that sense. We're going to spend a little bit of money, and only one movie like out of 10 has to hit in order to make the money back. And if more than one does, then they're golden. It's a good model, which Hollywood generally does not do. They put all of their money into certain franchises. Like we're putting everything on Marvel and like that's it. And which is surprising because man, that's a gamble to do.
Well, that's going to work until it doesn't. And then
exactly.
You see huge catastrophic losses.
Yeah. It's nuts. Like I couldn't imagine like signing off on a project like that. Like this Avatar 2, what did they say? Like they had to make $2 billion to get the money back?
That's a bit of a misquote. Basically, James Cameron said it had to be in the top 3 biggest selling movies of all time, and then some other people basically did the math. The production budget on it right now looks about 650. Scott, do I have that right? 650 million.
It's I think it's already made the profit. Like where it's at right now in 3 weeks. But in terms of Blumhouse, like look, their newest release, Megan, is what took out Avatar for #1, right?
Yep.
What?
Well, and if you go back to Blumhouse with all the like found footage with paranormal stuff, they were making like $15,000 movies and making $100 million on them and stuff. Like, fuck.
Yeah, that is like, brilliant. Like, let's do this old. Like, it's basically like how they used to make movies, I guess, in the 70s, where studios like didn't really know what to do anymore. They were like audiences weren't coming in, and they just took all these directors like right out of film school. Like that's where we get Spielberg, that's where we get Lucas, that's where we get Coppola, and they're like, we don't really understand you, but the youth seems to. Here's some money, go make a movie. And that you get all these legends being born out of that. I would like to see the studios do that again.
And I think that with the democratization of film, both with like you can edit at home now, you can shoot basically on your phone, or you have access to cinema cameras that are, because they're digital, you're not carrying a bunch of film stock. I think that we have the opportunity to do that. And I think it's going to happen because we're almost in, with the Marvelization of the film industry, we're kind of in that late 60s period again, where like the studios really don't know where to go. They think they've got a plan, but really they're just betting on all the same shit, just like they were doing in the mid 60s. And it's just going to be time for a revolution. And I mean, you'll bring in streaming, you bring in streaming services into that conversation. The fact that you made a film for $500 and it played on a major streaming service. Like you couldn't do that before, right? You would try and do an art house run back in the day. But again, it's just the landscape changes, but the filmmakers and the audiences are still trying to, connect together. Right. So.
Yeah. I am glad that the audiences are still there. Because like I didn't put any money into promoting Force Fury once it went on streaming, because like this movie sucks and no one's gonna watch it. But enough people did watch it. Like thousands of people have watched this this movie who don't know me and probably don't want to after watching it. but
So
like,
what you're saying, in your second film, you didn't put from the creator of Force Fury.
no.
Dan
Absolutely not.
McLeod film. Dun, 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 dun.
I think I have to change my name if that was the case.
I mean, so, kind of wrapping up Dawn of the Dead here. It's got a 93% from critics, which is amazing.
Whoa.
And the audience, I'm actually surprised the audience score is a bit lower. It's 90%. I figured it like a lot of genre stuff. Typically, the critics go to town on it, and then the audience is like, I don't fucking care. Like, what was the most recent one? Part 2 that again they made for like $1 million, and it with a crazy clown that kills everybody.
Oh, it?
No. The one just in December there.
Oh, Terrifier 2.
Terrifier 2,
Oh.
yeah.
I still have to watch that. I watched the first one. I was like, yeah, they did a really good job, especially for the budget. I was very impressed. And apparently this next one, the sequel is amazing. If you like gore, which I do.
And you like to throw up in the movie theater?
Yeah.
Will she throw up in a movie theater? I don't know. I just fucked up my Alanis Morissette quote there, but whatever.
I was going to say it's go down.
Yeah,
But
or
sure.
throw up.
Could be both.
There you go.
Anything else you guys want to chat about before we let Dan go?
I'm just really happy, guys, to have me on the show. It was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it. I hope look to see you both this coming weekend for the KW Film Festival.
Well, thanks for coming out, Dan. Yeah, we look forward to your festival, and we're definitely going to make sure our audience is well aware of it. And also all the work that you've done. Like, we'll throw your IMDB up there. And yeah, thanks for coming out, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks. And that is our wrap for the day. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends. If you want to get a hold of us, reach us at the www.howdyoulikethatmovie.com. Like listening to it, you're apparently somewhat of a competent filmmaker because you made his list.
Two of my films have, and one I produced. So, but I'm also from KW. I'm also from KW. So he was probably like, I mean, this is shit, but I mean, he's next door and he's gonna have us on the podcast. So should probably let this guy into our fucking film festival.
See, now he'll listen to this and he'll know the real reason why you wanted him on.
God damn it! We're gonna have to get our producer to edit that part out too.
Be like, especially before the actual festival, be like, I think now I kind of feel like I have to have the guy fucking win, right?
Production by Rod Shaver, Vader Monkey Productions.